The Sopranos is a show about gangsters, mafiosos who are meant to embody the ideals of strength and honor. However, most of the actual mobsters that we see on the show fail to live up to expectations. They're selfish, petty, insecure, and are endlessly complaining like a bunch of schoolgirls.
Jesus Christ, is there nothing without this complaining?
However, there is one mobster who actually embodies the ideals of the lifestyle, Furio Giunta. The Italian-born gangster is one of the few characters to show real strength. Not just physical strength, but also strength of character. And this strength is meant to contrast against the other mobsters and remind us of just how pathetic most of these guys truly are. So, in this video, let's examine Furio, the real strong silent type.
I hate the North.
Jesus, take it easy.
Furio Giunta is an Italian-born mobster and a member of the Camorra crime organization in Naples. He's actually a cousin of the acting boss Annalisa Zucca, and one of the key men in their operation. When a kid throws firecrackers that sound like gunshots, Furio immediately jumps into action and shields the boss, Vittorio, with his own body. Recognizing how capable Furio is as a soldier, Tony makes a deal with Annalisa to have him come to America and work for him. Furio quickly proves himself to be one of Tony's most capable men. During his first job, he shows no hesitation or remorse, even when it comes to beating a woman whose husband owes them money. This ruthless attitude, along with his capabilities, earn him respect, and soon he becomes one of the family's most trusted soldiers, even above more experienced guys like Big Pussy.
Say hello to Furio, friend of ours, from the other side. Oh, hey, I heard a lot about you.
Furio continues to work with the Soprano family for 2 more seasons. He participates in many of their activities, such as disposing of Richie Aprile, intimidating Junior's doctor, and is shot during Jackie Jr.'s failed robbery of the card game.
While you're here, maybe give you a bulge. Doc, see if you can remove this lady's underwear.
However, his time with the family comes to an end over his relationship with the boss's wife. He and Carmela both have unspoken feelings for each other, born from his time picking Tony up as his driver. Furio briefly considers killing Tony so that he can be with Carmela. However, realizing that the relationship can never be, Furio abruptly leaves back to Naples and never returns. Though Tony says that he'll have Furio killed after learning about his and Carmela's romance, it feels like an empty threat. It doesn't seem like the Italian mafia would be willing to sacrifice such a loyal soldier, not to mention Annalisa's cousin, and are probably just humoring Tony with their promise to kill him.
Yet you were modern enough to use a cell phone to call Italy and every other fucking place to threaten the guy's life.
Well, that's right. Certain people see him. He's a dead man.
During his brief time on the show, Furio feels like one of the core characters of the series, and a lot of that has to do with how the character is presented. Throughout the series, Tony makes a point of calling out the type of man that he admires and strives to be, the strong, silent type.
Whatever happened to Gary Cooper? The strong, silent type. That was an American.
By that, he means a man of internal strength and silence. A man who does what he needs to do without complaint. He draws on the images of classic Hollywood heroes like Gary Cooper for this ideal of masculinity.
Gary Cooper. Now, there was an American. The strong, silent type. He did what he had to do. He faced down the Miller gang when none of those other assholes in town would lift a finger to help him.
However, he himself will admit that he fails to live up to this idealization. Tony is not the strong, silent type. Even setting aside the fact that he attends therapy to talk about his problems, Tony is extremely volatile in his personal and professional life, going from bouts of explosive anger to depressive melancholy.
The kind of man I admire is Gary Cooper, the strong, silent type. And our all Americans, all they're doing is crying and confessing and complaining. A bunch of fucking pussies. Fuck them. And now I'm one of them, a patient.
Now, you might say that Tony's ideal of masculinity is an impossibility. He based it on the portrayal of fictional characters from classic Hollywood westerns, and that in real life, no one, not even the real Gary Cooper himself, could ever live up to that ideal. And while I think that's true, we do have a character who embodies those ideals, Furio.
No bitch to me. Bet with your head. No over it.
Now, Furio is obviously a very tough guy, but that's not what makes him the strong silent type. What makes Furio strong is his internal character. While he does what he has to do as a mobster, he never seeks out violence or confrontation. We never see him explode or attack without provocation, unlike someone like Tony. He's also not afraid to express himself. He knows who he is and isn't afraid of showing emotion. He displays a lot of sensitivity, like doing interior decorating with Carmela or crying when his father dies, because he knows he's tough and is not scared of appearing weak.
What's the matter with you?
Sad for my father.
All right, but you gotta get over it.
This internal strength is in stark contrast to the other mobsters of the New Jersey Mafia. While the guys are all physically tough, they almost all have internal flaws that weaken their character. Guys like Tony need to put on a front of strength to hide their internal weaknesses and insecurities.
Still, I gotta be the sad clown. For my friends, my family, and a brave front.
The series actually makes a point of contrasting Furio and Tony. Take the scene in the appropriately titled episode, The Strong Silent Type. Furio is shown to be making a proper Italian dinner, cooking his own pasta from scratch and drinking it with a glass of wine. Tony, by contrast, microwaves a plate of rigatoni and shovels it down with a glass of milk. It's a visual metaphor of their respective characters and shows just how different these two men really are.
Hello? Look at Furio. What's so bad about him?
It's little wonder then why Carmela ends up falling so hard for Furio. Like I talked about in my Carmela video, there's a pattern to the type of men that Carmela goes for outside of Tony. All of the guys, including Furio, have a sensitivity about them that Tony lacks. What attracts Carmela is not Furio's toughness, or the fact that his ponytail looks like a dick, but instead his internal emotional depth.
He talked to you all, poor you.
He made me feel like I mattered!
It's unfortunate that we don't get as much of an explanation as to what made Furio fall for Carmela. She's a beautiful woman, of course, but we don't get as much of an internal reason as to why Furio falls for her so hard. Of course, the idea of the bodyguard falling in love with his boss's wife is a trope that stretches all the way back to Lancelot in Queen Guinevere.
And I'll be totally oblivious to the affair between my bodyguard and my wife.
You look very nice today, Vincenzo.
Still, this lack of characterization is one of the problems with Furio's storyline. Despite being on the show for 3 seasons, more than even some of the most iconic characters, we really don't get to spend that much time with him. We don't have any episodes that explore him as a character, the way we do someone like Tony or Christopher. Thus, we only get to see him through the lens of Tony or Carmela's storylines, instead of him as his own person.
I try to talk to her, but there is no communication. Like with some people, you know what I mean?
It's quite possible that the strong silent type persona that I see in Furio might not have been there if we could have explored him in more depth. Given David Chase's storytelling style, he might have had his own internal flaws that would have emerged if there was a storyline that was dedicated to him specifically. But for what we do get, Furio is probably one of the most confident and self-assured mobsters on the show. He doesn't need to put on a front of strength, he's just strong. And the way that he's strong is a lesson for how men should strive to act. At least some of the time.
State zitte, puttana! Sia fortunato che non t'ha già ammazzato.
Thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts on Furio in the comments, and stay tuned for more Sopranos content coming soon. Give me 1,000 likes. Matt Joyce, Uncle Mike, Sam Cedarland, Celery Man, Cheshire, Brandon Taylor, and James Johnson.